The Prime Minister finally meets the media and gets grilled over his views on Iran and India. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Going beyond the headlines.
Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
A combative Prime Minister Carney is explaining his position on the war in Iran. While he was in India, his office released a statement backing the U.S.-led action in Iran. Mr. Carney later said as much during a speech in Mumbai. And for many days, he refused to take questions from news reporters explaining his position. That is, until he finally met the media in Sydney, Australia, for his first news conference in nearly a week. And the questions came fast and furious. And the Prime Minister was fiery at times in defending his position.
What was President Trump's reaction to you supporting the airstrikes on Iran?
I haven't spoken to the president.
What does that say about your relationship?
The president's. I don't think it says anything, to be honest. Next
You
question.
received nothing from the Americans?
Look, we take a position. Let me just make a clear point. We took a position, not asking for something. We took a position because we view the nuclear threat and the export of terrorism of Iran over decades as one of the gravest threats to international peace and security. And the Americans and the Israelis haven't taken this action in that limited sense. We supported that aspect. That is not a blank check. That is not us participating. That is not us asking for something in exchange for that. None of that's true. That is just a straight-up position. Thank you.
As for what he would like to see next in Iran, given the demise of the Ayatollah and many top leaders of that regime, the Prime Minister said that's up to the Iranian people.
Do you have a position on what replaces that in Iran? What kind of regime comes next? Do you want to see a wholesale regime change here, or is stability more important?
Well, look, we have long wanted for decades and continue to this hour that the will of the Iranian people is respected. And that a government consistent with the will of the Iranian people comes in place. How that would come about, that's I don't have. I mean, it's an exceptionally complex situation. I'm not inserting a war aim into conflict that others started.
As for his statement and his remarks backing this U.S. action, Prime Minister again used one of his better-known lines about being pragmatic in world affairs. He blamed the current situation in the Middle East on a failure of the international order.
Because Canada is taking the world as it is, not passively waiting for a world we wish to be. We do, however, take this position with regret because the current conflict is another example of the failure of the international order. Despite decades of UN Security Council resolutions, the tireless work of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and the succession of sanctions and diplomatic frameworks, Iran's nuclear threat remains. And now, the United States and Israel have acted without engaging the United Nations or consulting allies, including Canada.
The Prime Minister also answered questions about his government's views of India. The Prime Minister sees great economic opportunity for Canada and India, but there are questions about whether he is downplaying the security risks of that country, such as election interference, transnational repression, and criminal activity such as extortion.
A lot of confusion exists, including within your own cabinet, about what Canada thinks India is doing. So I'm hoping that you can clarify in a yes or no way. Do you agree with your own government official, yes or no, who suggested India is no longer actively interfering in Canada's democratic process and that Indian agents are no longer involved in murders and extortions within Canada? Yes or no?
Well, I'm not sure that's an exact quote.
That is what he suggested.
That's not a quote.
I can read the quote.
I think, we can debate whether you had a discussion that was not for quotation, but if you want to read a quote from something that's not for quotation. These are the words I would use, and it's important. I would not use those words, okay, first point. Secondly, our approach, as I said in response to the first question, is one of, the second question, is one of vigilance and engagement.
This is becoming problematic for the Prime Minister. Days ago, the Globe and Mail reported Canadian officials were shown evidence that Indian consular staff in Vancouver supplied information that helped in the assassination of a Sikh activist in Canada. Mr. Carney was asked about that by the Globe and Mail's Steve Chase.
Your predecessor
Yes.
said in the House of Commons that there were credible allegations of a link between the government of Canada, government of India, and the death of Mr. Nijjar. Do you agree with that assessment? And finally, what is the government doing to hold India accountable for the death of Mr. Nijjar?
So all of those questions fall under, all of those questions fall under the same rubric, which is there is a process underway this is a criminal procedure. There's a process underway. And my job at this point, with respect to that process, is to make sure that I do not say anything that prejudices the prospect of justice being served.
An easier day for Prime Minister Carney today as he is delivering a speech to the Parliament of Australia. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Interviewed our next guest almost a decade ago now when she was a candidate and later a member of the Ontario legislature from the Ottawa area. And I have known her to be a fierce critic of Iran's Islamic Republic and also a staunch defender of the Iranian people. And Goldie Ghammari has been kind enough to make some time for us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on, Rob.
Yeah, it's great to hear your voice again, Goldie. What was your first reaction when you heard the news that the United States and Israel were attacking Iran?
It was disbelief. I had to pinch myself several times to make sure that I wasn't dreaming, and then I actually got a little bit emotional, and I started crying for a little bit because this is something that we Iranians have been asking for and praying for 47 years, for some sort of humanitarian intervention. So I can say, not just me, but all Iranians in occupied Iran and around the world, we are so incredibly grateful to for the news of President Trump and, of course, Israel coming to Iran. And for people who might not understand why, the example I like to give is think about France during World War II when it was occupied by the Nazis. And so it's the same feeling as when the Allies came to liberate France. That's the best example I can give.
And how did it feel when the news broke that the Ayatollah was dead? What did you think of that?
I was so happy. It felt like this burden had been lifted off of my shoulders because he is the modern day Hitler of our times, and he has the blood of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on his hands. And it was just such incredible news. Iranians in Iran around the world were celebrating. Iranians were, doing the YMCA dance to thank President Trump. It's just so incredible to know that bloodthirsty murderer who's responsible for the deaths of so many innocent people is finally gone.
There's an internet blackout there now, but what do you know about the situation there right now, the living conditions in Iran right now?
Yeah, so there is an internet blackout, which the Islamic regime has implemented. This is very similar to what they did about 5-6 weeks ago at the beginning of January, when they shut down the internet and then began mass murdering Iranians. Thankfully, because of Starlink and Elon Musk donating Starlink and people smuggling it in, we are able to get footage and videos coming out. And what we are seeing is Iranians are filming Israeli and American, dropping missiles on IRGC bases. They're filming that and they're cheering and they're saying, thank you, Trump, thank you, Netanyahu, and they're sharing those videos with us so that we can share them with the rest of the world. Iranians in Iran are fine. They're not concerned at all because they know that this is not a war between the United States and Iran. This is a war between the United States and the Islamic regime, which is occupying them. So everything has been incredibly targeted. The IRGC bases are being destroyed. And the only reason that Iranians haven't gone out into the streets yet is because President Trump, as well as His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi, who's the leader of the Iranian National Revolution, they have said that right now it is dangerous to go out. Iranians must stay indoors to allow United States and Israel to finish the job. And then when the time is right, Iranians can go out and reclaim the country.
What is your understanding of who is ruling Iran now, and do you think the regime can survive this?
I don't know who's ruling. I don't think there's anyone left. I mean, yesterday, when the Supreme Council, like a bunch of evil mullahs, were gathering to pick the next supreme dictator of the country, Israel dropped a bomb on that building, and my understanding is exterminated most of them. So we actually have no idea who's running the country right now. I don't think anyone really is. The Islamic regime is in shambles. The way that I see it is they're already gone. They're already dead. They just don't know it yet. So they're just running around like a headless chicken. However, this makes them incredibly dangerous, which is why we're seeing the regime attacking all these other countries in the Middle East for no reason whatsoever, like Dubai and Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, and all these other countries. So the Islamic regime is incredibly dangerous. It is in its final death throes. I honestly have no idea who's ruling the country right now. I don't think anyone is ruling the country.
Okay. Just hang on, Goldie Ghammari, and we'll be right back with a few more questions for you. But we have to stop here. We'll be right back. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
We're here with Canadian-Iranian human rights activist Goldie Ghammari. U.S. President Donald Trump, Goldie, has said he wants Iranians, when it's safe, to rise up, take control of their country, take control of their government, calling it like a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Do you think they will?
100%. We're ready for that. We're ready to go. So our leader, His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, he has a transitional plan in place. That plan is actually publicly available online. The first draft of it came back out in the summer, and everyone had an opportunity to review it, to provide input and comments, and the final version came out just a few days ago. I can't think of any other revolution where a transition plan that has been written by experts and has been peer-reviewed and also reviewed by the Iranian nation itself has been made or is available. And that document outlines very, very explicitly how the country is going to transition from an Islamic dictatorship to a modern, secular, functioning democratic society, which is what we were prior to 1979. And essentially what's going to happen is this transitional government is going to be in place only just to run the country. And then when it's safe to do so, we're going to have a national referendum. And that national referendum is going to determine whether we Iranians want to have a constitutional monarchy like Canada, or if we want to have a republic like the United States. But regardless of what type of democracy we want, all of us are united behind him because we are committed to the principles of secular democracy, separation of religion and state, maintaining the territorial integrity and borders of the country, and of course, our commitment to human rights.
Okay. Iranian Canadians in this country have suffered intimidation by Iranian officials that have been stationed in this country. I'm wondering, Goldie, have you ever been subjected to an intimidation campaign by Iranian officials here?
It's funny that you ask. So I have certainly in the past, but more recently, actually a few days ago, I received an email from a known hacker group that is linked to the Islamic regime. I received an email from them days ago where they basically said that they put a bounty on my head for $250,000 for the death of Khamenei. And so I'm taking that very seriously. I filed a report. So, police are aware of the situation. Just a few days ago as well, there's a very popular and hardworking activist. His name is Salar Gholami. He's responsible for organizing all the demonstrations in Toronto. His gym targeted and shot 17 times. So that's very, very scary. So, yes, the situation is very dangerous. Who speak out. There are a lot of Islamic regime agents in Canada who have been intimidating us for a very, very long time.
President Trump seems to think this is going to be a short war, 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think?
I think it's going to be even shorter than that. President Trump said, I think he said yesterday that they're already ahead of schedule. And today they've already announced that the entire Navy fleet of the regime is gone. It's at the bottom of the ocean. Their air force is completely decimated and destroyed as well. I think this is, I can't see this lasting more than a few more weeks, if anything. But I mean, who knows? But it's definitely been. President Trump has said that they're way, way ahead of schedule, and I believe that because the Islamic regime, they've always portrayed themselves as being, the axis of resistance and jihad and whatever. But we Iranians, we've always known that when it comes to their military, they're very weak. The only thing that the Islamic regime is good at is oppressing its own people and murdering unarmed Iranians. That's the only thing that they've been good at.
Okay. I know a very emotional topic for you today, Goldie. I thank you so much for taking some time for us today. I really appreciate it. All the best to you.
Thank you so much. Happy to come on anytime.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Goldie Ghammari, Canadian Iranian human rights activist. Goldie Ghammari, former MPP in the Ontario legislature from Eastern Ontario. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
It's time for our Wednesday Newsday political panel as we welcome back Tom Parkin. He's principal at Impact Strategies. Welcome back, Tom. Good to hear from you.
Nice to be on the line with you.
Along with Jeff Rutledge, Vice President, McMillan Vantage. Hi, Jeff. Welcome back.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So let's listen to the Prime Minister. This is from his news conference in Sydney, Australia, and he's asked about his statement on the situation in Iran and backing this U.S. action. Let's listen here.
What was President Trump's reaction to you supporting the airstrikes on Iran?
I haven't spoken to the president.
What does that say about your relationship?
The president's. I don't think it says anything, to be honest.
Next you received nothing from the Americans?
Look, we take a position. Let me just make a clear point. We took a position, not asking for something. We took a position because we view the nuclear threat and the export of terrorism of Iran over decades as one of the gravest threats to international peace and security. And the Americans and the Israelis haven't taken this action in that limited sense. We supported that aspect. That is not a blank check. That is not us participating. That is not us asking for something in exchange for that. None of that's true. That is just a straight-up position. Thank you.
Tom Parkin from Impact Strategies. What do you think about what you heard from the Prime Minister?
What we heard is a lot of backpedaling, and it's a real contrast with, as I'm calling him, Davos Carney, where he stood in front of the political and the business elite of this world and said that Canada was committed to the use of force only when approved by the UN Charter. Clearly this wasn't. It's not even approved by American law. And he, people had an instant reaction to that. And Rob, you may have seen a poll from Angus Reid that came out yesterday afternoon. Only 17% of Liberals supported him on this. So, I think he saw which way the wind was blowing and that he'd made a big mistake politically, thinking that he could do this. But I think, Rob, the more important point here is we don't have this principle of supporting rule of law for no reason. And it certainly isn't a reason of trying to benefit or protect Iran. The rule of law was used to put Iran in a corner before Mr. Trump came around the first time. There were UN inspectors that were quarterly doing reports. They were monitoring and investigating the nuclear program of Iran. They were put on the ground by the UN. Quarterly reports showed that they had abandoned the plan. But then Mr. Trump came along, got elected in 2016, and he withdrew from that plan because he withdraws for anything that has anything to do with the United Nations or the World Trade Organization or anything of that sort. He is just against the rule of law. And he may have had the ambition in his mind at that time as well to reserve his right for regime change, which I suspect is really what's going on here. But the point here is that rule of law was working. Rule of law was working of putting Iran in a corner. And it was Mr. Trump who let them out of the corner by ripping up the deal.
Right, but you said I want to focus on Mr. Carney for a moment and his remarks because you're right. He has been taken to task for his support, and in the statement and in his remarks in Mumbai said he supports the U.S. action. I want to compare that to what he said in Sydney, Australia. Do you hear backpedaling there, Jeff Rutledge? Do you hear backpedaling there?
Yeah, well, it's hard to listen to it and not go, okay, I agree with like 60% of it, where he's like, look, we needed to deal with the threat that Iran is. And obviously, he remarks about their human rights record and all of their infringements on international law and points out that the, significant risk that they represent if they get a weapon. Super clear on that. The rest of it is a muddled mess. Of what I can only assume is like a hodgepodge of, messaging that's been, they've done polling on, and it might get some good pickup, and then, pieces that came from his advisors, and, it just becomes this muddled, unclear mess. And so do you support what is taking place in terms of the degrading of the regime and, a potential reduction of the threat of Iran? Is that what you're supporting? Is that your view and perspective on it? Fine, stop there. You don't need to editorialize about whether or not you, as somebody who isn't a lawyer, believe that there is a prima facie case of a breach of international law. You don't need to editorialize on that. And we as Canada can say we, appreciate degrading the Iranian regime. And we as Canadians stand ready to play the role that we can when we get called upon. Because right now, to be fair, I don't think the president really cares whether or not he and Mr. Netanyahu have the approval of the global order to do what they've done. They don't need it. Frankly speaking, and I think. But when
Mr. Carney says he supports it with regret, he supports it with regret. I support it with regret. Is he not? Isn't that kind of? I smoked pot, but I didn't inhale. Isn't it that kind of thing, Jeff? Isn't that? Isn't it that?
I think it is. But this is where it becomes this hodgepodge, right? I think he has a personal perspective on it, so say it. Like, at least when Trudeau spoke about issues like this, if he had a direct belief on it, he just said it. For Mr. Carney's sake, this can't be a half measured. It's like, well, we feel really bad that we have to say that we support it. Well, why are you doing that? Are you politically pandering?
Yeah. What do you think, Tom? He supports it with regret.
Yeah, well, that was sort of like the little asterisk down there at the bottom. It's a way of trying to be consistent with his original statement, but that kind of adding to it. But it wasn't just there. He also said, well, no, my commitment to rule of law is intact. It hasn't changed at all, but you guys misunderstood it. Because what I meant when I said that Canada is committed to the rule of law is that Canada is committed to the rule of law, not that we're going to suggest that anybody else live to that standard. That is what he told the media. Now, this is the same guy who was in Davos who said that honesty means acting consistently and applying the same standards to allies and rivals. Well, none of this is consistent at all. It is 100% a hodgepodge mess that he's made.
When we come back, I want your take on his remarks about India, where he sees obviously big economic opportunities for Canada, but his government is accused of downplaying the security risks of India. When we return, this is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
It's our Wednesday Newsday political panel from Impact Strategies. Tom Parkin is here. Jeff Rutledge from McMillan Vantage. All right, another clip from Prime Minister Carney's news conference in Sydney, Australia, asked about his position on India and whether India still poses a security threat to Canada. Let's listen here.
A lot of confusion exists, including within your own cabinet, about what Canada thinks India is doing. So I'm hoping that you can clarify in a yes or no way. Do you agree with your own government official, yes or no, who suggested India is no longer actively interfering in Canada's democratic process and that Indian agents are no longer involved in murders and extortions within Canada? Yes or no?
Well, I'm not sure that's an exact quote.
That is what he suggested.
That's not a quote.
I can read the quote.
I think, we can debate whether you had a discussion that was not for quotation, but if you want to read a quote from something that's not for quotation. These are the words I would use, and it's important. I would not use those words, okay? First point. Secondly, our approach, as I said in response to the first question, is one of, the second question, is one of vigilance and engagement.
Vigilant and engagement. We are engaged in vigilance and engagement. He's not shy about sparring with the news media, I will say. News media had to kind of chase him for the better part of a week. But Jeff, what do you think about what you're hearing there from the Prime Minister?
Yeah, it was a little bit like we have to be the Paul Blart mall cop when it comes to potential foreign aggression against our country. Again, I struggle with how the Prime Minister approaches this, which is Canadians are not dumb. And they don't like the idea of being told, well, I wish I could say something, but I can't really say anything because, because of all the top security clearances, et cetera, et cetera. And what it does is make Canadians trust what he's saying less. I said this when Prime Minister Carney engaged the Chinese government in negotiations around potential expansion of trade, that we needed to be cautious, extremely cautious, because they had kidnapped two of our citizens and played hostage diplomacy. Well, in this case, there's allegations of something far more serious and sinister taking place on Canadian soil. And Canadians have every right to understand how that impacts the relationship we have with India. And you can't just paint over it and say everything is fine because of potential $70+ billion in economic benefit, though that is significant. But I think Canadians expect clarity on how we are approaching this relationship, and we can't just pretend like nothing has happened. And if the Prime Minister carries on down that road, I think he's going to get pushback and concern from large diaspora communities in Canada.
Well, he's apparently getting pushback from within his own caucus. Tom Parkin, what do you think?
There's no country in this world, including our own, that is perfect on the issue of human rights. Let's start with that. We do trade with lots of people, lots of countries that are very imperfect. I accept that. And I think most Canadians accept that to a degree. There is a line. We're never really sure exactly where it is, but there is a line, and we debate where it is, and then sometimes we draw it and we won't step across it, and that's good too. The problem is you can't deny things that are just true. And that's what Mr. Carney's staff, the unattributed person that was being spoken about in the beginning of the clip, you can't just let that comment be made, which is obviously untrue, and then not address it, and then expect that you're not going to be required to address it, and it becomes in the context of trying to do business with India, which is going to be a huge embarrassment to him, to India, and frankly, undermining his entire pivot agenda. If he had simply said, I felt similarly about Xi, he went too far rhetorically. Do we have to diversify our trade in the world? Yes, we do. China, India, okay, let's do that. But let's do it with eyes open. Let's not close our eyes to what these countries do or try to lie to Canadians that they have stopped doing those things. That's where he made a fatal mistake, rhetorically going too far to try and deceive us.
All right, we'll be right back. It's our Wednesday Newsday political panel. There's so much to discuss today. I don't know how much of it we're going to all fit in, but we're going to try and fit in a lot more when we return on News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
With Tom Parkin from Impact Strategies, Jeff Rutledge from McMillan Vantage. Just a few minutes remaining. The Prime Minister has said more than once on this trip to India, now in Australia, later Japan, he has said, and he said this in Davos, we take the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. That's kind of his go-to line, I guess, when it comes to global affairs. We take the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. So he's willing to do trade deals with China. He's willing to do trade deals with India, willing to do deals with the UAE. China and India come up repeatedly during the Hague Commission. The UAE's human rights record is terrible. Do Canadians care? How does this look? Tom, you kind of mentioned it there. How does this look to be going to these countries and doing these deals?
Well, in some of them, I suggested that in many of these cases with many of these countries, there's a line that we will debate internally as Canadians about which countries are over that line and which are on it, which are on this side of it. There are elements about our relationship with UAE which are upsetting, and about things that UAE does, and it's mostly around arms trafficking. So the problem here is that Mr. Carney is kind of submerging that part of the story. So the world, the way it is, not the way we wish it, is of course, that's a truism. You have to start from how things are. But the point is also to try and make things better, because the way things are is not good. So unless you deal with things as they are, but you also have a vision about what you're trying to achieve.
Okay. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, look, the trade deals are inevitable with many of these countries. But what we can do, and what I'm not sure that the Prime Minister and his government are doing, is being far more aspirational here at home. And so when we talk about, taking the world as it is, that's fine. That means that you color certain relationships a certain way. But you can also build up your own country domestically and defend against bad actors who might bring or import those tendencies and qualities into our country, whether that's by, foreign interference in our elections, money laundering, etc. You have the ability to protect the Canadian people and our economy from that, while being far more aspirational about how you build up the country and deal with the domestic challenges that you have here. And you can realize those economic benefits, as I think the Prime Minister is at least talking about doing in Canada. But there's a whole heck of a lot more work that can be done here to deal with issues like the housing crisis and affordability that I'm not sure that the Prime Minister is as focused on as he should be. And so it's great to have these international discussions and talk about international trade, but we need to make sure we've got our house in order here at home before we start glad-handing with everybody else.
Okay, just very quickly, only have a time for like a yes or no answer, a one-word answer. John Tory's not running in the mayor's race in Toronto. Announced that yesterday. Does that help or hurt Olivia Chow? Very quickly, help or hurt, Tom? Help or hurt Olivia Chow?
100% help.
100% help. Okay, 100%. Because there is this belief that it would with Tory and this other guy would divide the right of center vote.
I'm pretty close with some folks around the mayor's office, and they 100% believe this is helpful, not the other way.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Jeff?
It helps from a name recognition standpoint. It hurts her from a dollars and fundraising standpoint. And I think that a number of her allies on council are bigger targets now because Brad has some other folks that I think he'd like to see in their place.
All right. That's interesting. Okay. Thank you for commenting on the city-state that is Toronto. Tom Parkin, Principal Impact Strategies, will speak soon. Jeff Rutledge, Vice President, McMillan Vantage. Thank you. He's in Toronto today. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. It's a two-parter again today. It's about the war in Iran. Here's what we want to know today. With your help, we want your opinion. At 1-833-668-2577. Do you think this war is justified? And how long do you think it's going to last? Do you think this war is justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? Share your opinions. We want to know what you're thinking about this war that is now just 5 days old. It is still and will be for the foreseeable future, it seems, by far. It is still by far the biggest story in the world. Justification. Is it justified? What do you think about what you're hearing as the Trump administration defends its decision to launch this attack on Iran? The Trump administration has made several claims about why it decided to take the action it has now taken alongside Israel. It has claimed, for example, that U.S. forces in the region were under threat, that U.S. allies in the region were also under threat from Iran, that Iran was developing ballistic missiles that could threaten U.S. assets and U.S. allies in the region, that Iran was building these missiles at such a speed and at such a scale that it posed an imminent threat to those assets and those allies. And then there's the nuclear program, the insistence that Iran was developing nuclear weapons. The Trump administration, even the president, has said they tried to negotiate with Iran, but the understanding was Iran would never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon, and the negotiations failed. And the administration has cited Iran's well-established, long-running funding of proxy groups like Hamas, like Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and the long record of terrorist atrocities committed by these groups, and Iran's well-known reputation as being a state sponsor of terrorism. And all of this, according to Trump and his top people in Washington, say this posed such a threat, an imminent threat, they had to act. And they did. And now there's a war. And the United States and Israel attacked Iran, and Iran has responded by bombing U.S. bases and striking U.S. embassies in the region, launching attacks against Israel all across the Gulf region. UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iraq. It's only been 5 days, but that's the justification. So is this war justified? What would you say? Yes, no, why? Why not? Critics are saying, such as Democrats in Washington, but there are many critics all over the world who say it wasn't justified. There was no vote in the U.S. Congress authorizing this war. They doubt that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. They say there's little evidence of that. And critics also say there's been no United Nations authorization for any of this. Many Canadian commentators including at least one Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister, Lloyd Axworthy, have pointed that out. Since this started on Saturday, there are those who support this action. Prime Minister Carney has said he supports it. He reiterated that to a certain extent yesterday, saying he supports this action, albeit with regret, calling it a failure of the international order. But there are lots of other reasons people think this war is justified. Just ask any of the thousands of Iranian Canadians who have been celebrating it. And the death of the Ayatollah in the streets of Canadian cities all across the country. They think their country has been freed and that it could do a lot better. They want change. That this has been among the most oppressive regimes in the world, a regime that thinks nothing of killing its own people, who take to the streets and protest. And there aren't too many people who ever wanted to see a nuclear-armed Iran and what that could mean, not just for the Middle East, but the entire world. And this action largely removes that threat. Toppling this regime, crippling its military, eliminating its nuclear weapons program, makes the world a safer place, makes the whole world a safer place. And they'll say it's good that this has happened, and it's about time that it is happened. It's totally justified. Want to know what you think on Talkback today. Is it justified? Is it justified? 1-833-668-2577. And then there's that second question. How long do you think it's going to last? You hear these timelines from the Trump administration, 4 to 5 weeks. 4 to 5 weeks. Way ahead of schedule, they say. We're way ahead of schedule. 4 to 5 weeks. Well, what do you think of that? Is that believable for you? The Trump people insist it won't be a forever war. It'll be a 4 to 5 week operation. Pete Hegseth, we'll play some of him later on. He was at the Pentagon again today. He said, they're toast and they know it. They're toast and they know it. We're playing for keeps. It's not even a fair fight. We will control Iran. We will control it soon, he said today. Although he also said, could be 4 weeks, could be 8 weeks, could be 3 weeks. It's all up to President Trump. But they're talking weeks. Certainly not years or decades. And it'll all be over in a matter of weeks. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? That this is all going to be over in 4 to 5 weeks? Maybe a little longer. Or is it going to be a whole lot longer? That's what we want to know today. Please tell us your opinion. Is this war justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's Talkback. So talk back on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The war in Iran, our topic today. 2 questions. Do you think this war is justified? This U.S.-Israeli action against Iran, is it justified? Do you think, and how long do you think it's going to last? 4 to 5 weeks, months, years, decades? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Ryan is in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Ryan. You're on the air. What's your opinion?
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Yeah, very good, Ryan.
Yeah,
do you think
hopefully
it's justified?
It's over right away.
But do you think it's justified?
No, bullies, and I have no idea. With the world today, if everyone's got guns and nukes and bombs, like, why can't we just get along? I really don't get it. And whoever's got the biggest bombs, they can bomb the other country. It's like bullies on the playground. It's really odd.
You think the United States is what, bullying Iran? It was a bully against Iran?
Yeah, who's
really?
Next? Like North Korea? Like, we're going to see their friends show up at the playground here soon, if you know what I mean. Their bigger brother. Like,
you think there could be similar action here? You think there could be similar action here?
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it's over right away because gas is already going up in Calgary. Like it's 40 cents already.
Yeah, gas is higher in Calgary. It's higher all across the country.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. How long do you think it's going to last? You think it's going to be over soon?
Oh, man. It's not like our grandfather's war. It could be over within an hour. But these bombs are getting bigger, Rob. They got to settle down.
All right, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Emmanuel in Calgary. Emmanuel. Thanks for calling, Emmanuel. You're on the line. You think this war is justified?
The justification does not lie in how right any of them is, because they have both been responsible for human rights abuses, even in their countries and outside. In my lifetime, I've seen United States go to so many different countries and support regime changes in their own favor. So that is not it. But when people and leadership and the people are chanting death to America, death to Israel, then at some point, and then the leader is saying, well, it's not just a rhetoric, it's a policy. And so when these things happen, at some point, people take notice. And so that is where there is some sort of a reason. I can't call it a justification. I mean, years back, if an 84-year-old man was killed on the streets anywhere on earth, there will be an outcry. It's just that we have been desensitized right now. That is why people don't seem to be criticizing Trump as much. And besides, he takes everything personal and he'll take it with the person, right? But otherwise, so I don't see a justification. There is some reason, yes. There is some reason. Okay. The person is calling for your death and he's amassing arms and getting ready. And it has a religious support as well. Anyways, I won't go to that far. But as to the timing,
okay. So let's go to part two then.
Yes.
You hear it from members of the Trump administration. The president himself has said it. We think it's going to be over in 4 to 5 weeks. In fact, we're way ahead of schedule. Do you think this is going to be over in a month, maybe a little more than a month?
Way more, because this is a last stand. Yes, this regime has nowhere to run to. And you cannot also change regime from the skies. And they have their grip on the people. And so it's going to take way more than a month, definitely.
I mean, do you fear that this could become a so-called forever war? Like Iraq or like Afghanistan became a forever war? Just never seemed to end?
It could be. It could be, because bombing alone cannot do anything, and neither U.S. nor Israel is ready to put boots on the ground. And so that, you cannot change regime from the skies. No, it's not going to happen.
You don't think because it's largely an air act, you're not sure there's going to be a regime change?
No, it cannot. You cannot change regime from the skies. There is no way to do that. And they have their grip on the people. Yes.
They have their grips on the people. I'm not so sure about that, Emmanuel, but thank you so much for your call. We are off and running on Talkback today. Lots of lines available. It's a two-parter today. Is the war justified? Remember, no vote in the Congress, nothing at the United Nations. They just went ahead and did it, said there was an imminent threat, and they went ahead and did it. And they're saying it's going to last 4 to 5 weeks. Do you think it's going to last 4 to 5 weeks? 1-833-668-2577 and have your say on Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
2 questions about this war. Is it justified? The United States, Israel, justified in doing what it's done in Iran? Do you think it's justified? And how long do you think it's going to last? American officials say 4 to 5 weeks, way ahead of schedule. What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Pavel up next on Talkback. Hi, Pavel.
Oh, yes. Hi.
Yes. Hi there. Do you think this war is justified?
Definitely, I think it's not justified.
And why do you believe that?
Well, on what grounds would we invade other country and then say we want to change the way of life of other people, right? So just based on that, it's definitely not justified. How can we tell somebody else how to live? It's different society, different, entirely different religion, and they have their own way of life. So we just need to respect how people live in other parts of the world. That's all.
All right. What if the people in that other country have been taking to the streets by the tens of thousands demanding change from their government, but the government refuses to change and goes so far as to murder them in the streets, Pavel?
We have no
What do you do
evidence
then?
that this was not. Well, we have no evidence that this was not instigated by the actors paid by the American government and Israelis. So, and we have. I think we need to be cautious before we buy what the Israelis and Americans are telling the media. So,
So when claims are made, for
example,
example, that the regime recently murdered 15,000 people, do you question that?
I question everything that comes out of the American media and Israeli media.
All right. Okay. How long do you think this will last? They're saying 4 to 5 weeks. How long do you think it will last?
I think that there is no way this war can see an end in our lifetime. So they might have take control over the Hormuz Strait to have the oil deliveries going through the Gulf, but that's as far as they can achieve whatever objectives they set. But they definitely cannot take control of the minds of the people and population. So I don't think it has an end. It will be presented somehow, some kind of a victory, but it will definitely be far from that.
It will be far from that. Do you foresee a forever war? Do you think this will be a forever war, like Afghanistan or like Iraq, something that lasts for years and years?
I think that the Americans have no chance to win the war on the ground. So they will have perhaps. Well, we already have that forever war in the Middle East between Israelis and Islam world. So it's been for decades, and there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's just continuation of the same what we've seen.
You see this as a continuation of the right, as a continuation of the battle between, say, Arab countries, in this case, a Persian country, Muslim country, and Israel. And it's just another chapter in that conflict. Is that what you're saying, Pavel? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Pretty much, yeah. We can say that.
Pretty much.
And
okay, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but
another war is not a solution. We need to look at a different direction and see how can we achieve peace there. But peace is not the goal. So the true goals of that conflict are not ever announced. So we might only speculate what they are. The weapons of mass destruction, we've seen that in 2003 when in the United Nations, the bottle of some liquid was presented. At least then.
Oh, WMD? You're talking about WMD in Iraq? Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing your opinion. Maybe somebody has a different opinion. We'll find out as we make our way through Talkback today. Is this war justified? Democrats in Washington are going to have a vote today, justify this war. And Republicans are going to vote against it. Is it justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We are asking you 2 questions about the war in Iran. Is it justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? It's interesting that a lot of the pushback against this action by Israel and the United States is coming from what's known as the MAGA base. There's division You have some commentators who are normally very, very supportive of Donald Trump do not like that he is taking this action in Iran. For example, you have the former Fox News star who has her own show now, hugely popular, Megyn Kelly. She's questioning the rationale that the Trump administration is using for launching this action against Iran. Let's listen to that.
Congressional staff to whom they're obligated to brief, to speak and give their intel, quote, there was no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack U.S. forces first or to strike our bases in the Middle East. Okay, so there was no indication of an imminent attack. I don't know why Trump said that other than to try to justify the actions. But now we've heard it from several different reporting centers that there was none on the homeland, there was none on our outposts, there was none on our forces, and there was none on our bases in the Middle East. President Trump cited a long list after that of terrible things that Iran has done to the United States or its forces over the years, dating back to when I was 8. Okay, so I mean, I realized the 1979 taking of the hostages for 444 days was bad, but like literally, I was in 3rd grade.
Right. So she's questioning it. Then you have who was more loyal to President Trump than Marjorie Taylor Greene? Okay, like MAGA loyalists. Of course, they've had their falling out now, but she is also against this action in Iran. She was on the Megyn Kelly show, and she even questioned Trump's mental state. Play that.
Donald Trump has said repeatedly on camera and in interviews, he doesn't think he's going to heaven. Well, I want to ask a question, a serious question. What is in his mind? What is his mental state? If he doesn't think he's going to heaven and he is a man towards the end, he's in the 4th quarter, he's towards the end of his life. How does that pan out for the rest of us when we have a president of the United States who doesn't think and is convinced he's not going to heaven? What does that mean his decision making is? He already said to the New York Post today that he doesn't care about the polling. He doesn't care about what the American people think, and he may put troops on the ground. He took this is going to be a few-day war, to now it's going to be maybe 4 weeks or more. I want to say, what is happening to the man that I supported?
Maybe a lot of people are wondering that. Grant is in Calgary today. Hello, Grant. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Grant. Do you think this war is justified?
No, I don't think so. Hitting their nuclear facilities there a while back was justified, I think, but what they're doing now I don't think is justified. I don't believe there was an imminent threat they were going to attack the U.S. Here we go again, like they always go to war, and now they're talking about even putting troops in the ground. Well, he promised in his campaign not to be in foreign wars anymore, and he's doing it again.
They say it's only going to last 4 or 5 weeks, maybe a little longer, could be shorter. They're way ahead of schedule. They're toast. Hegseth said today they're toast, and they know it. Do you think this could be 4 or 5 weeks? What do you think?
I don't know how
over
long
in 4 to 5 weeks.
What's the outcome in the end? They don't even know that from what I've read. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's hopefully not going to last more than 4 weeks. I mean, the Iranian people want a new leader. Well, that's fine. But the Ayatollah, those guys are pretty hardcore. So it's wait and see. I guess what happens. Hopefully it doesn't last long. But it's anybody's guess.
Anybody's guess. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Is this war justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? 1-833-668-2577. Some lines available there for you. Ken is up next on Talkback. Thanks for calling, Ken. What's your opinion, Ken? Is it justified?
100%.
100%? Why?
The only people that seem to be opposed to this conflict are Democrats. That are they look useless again, and Trump haters. Everybody else, like pretty much in that region, are like completely behind it. Not just Iranians. Everybody's seen that video now so far. That cell phone footage of that Kuwaiti man running up to that American pilot, and first thing he says to her is "Thank you." And that was a Kuwaiti guy. The entire region, they want him gone, as well as as well as the Iranians. And I remember when the Islamic Revolution occurred, and it has not changed one iota. It's always been death to America, death to Israel, death to the great Satan, little Satan, yada, yada, yada. So that's not going to change. So this is what Green and Kelly, there's imminent threat. That should be enough right there, saying they want to kill us all.
Okay, but what was the imminent threat, do you think, that justified this? Like, imminent means something is going to happen. Imminent means something's going to happen soon. It's imminent. Nuclear capability.
Nuclear capability, yeah. That's basically what their only aim.
All right, but what about the claims from many months ago from the Trump? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. What about the claims from many months ago that they had obliterated the nuclear program of Iran?
Which they started rebuilding right away. And they were getting aid. Yeah, they were getting aid from different factions to fund that. It's like for instance, remember the pallet of cash fiasco that Obama gave back to Iran? You know, they're saying, oh, well, it's their money in the first place. But yeah, what was that money going to, like, honestly, Rob, what was that money going to be used for?
Fair enough. Fair enough. How long do you think it's going to last? They're saying 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think?
It'll be over by Easter.
Be over by Easter. Call me back on Easter Monday. I usually work Easter Monday. We'll see where things stand. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Talkback. Is this war justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? Call me and share your opinion, just like Ken did. It's easy. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So at the White House right now, Caroline Leavitt is the White House press secretary. She's taking some reporters' questions. They're all about the war, as you can imagine. Can we listen in to a little bit of this here?
Hey, did the United States airstrike a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly, the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime that targets civilians, that kills children, that has killed thousands of their own people in the past several weeks, and uses propaganda quite effectively, and unfortunately many people in this room have fallen for that propaganda. So I would caution you from pointing the finger at the United States of America when it comes to targeting civilians, because that's not something that these armed forces do. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. Prior to the Iran conflict, the SAVE Act was really the focus of the news cycle. Is the SAVE Act still a priority for the administration?
Absolutely.
Can you just provide an update on the administration's talks with Congress to get the SAVE Act through?
SAVE Act is absolutely still a priority for this president and the administration. The focus, of course, of much of the president's time right now is on ensuring the success of Operation Epic Fury, but the president can walk and chew gum at the same time, and he's very much continuing to focus on the issues that matter here at home for the American people, including the passage of the SAVE Act, including on bringing down the cost of living, which is why you'll see the president in about an hour and a half at the Ratepayer Protection Pledge Roundtable, where he will be sitting with big tech companies, with AI companies who are building in communities across the country and have pledged to pick up the cost of the electricity tab.
Let's leave that. SAVE Act is about voter eligibility in the United States, requiring voter ID, safeguard American voter eligibility, the SAVE Act. So that's not of interest to us today. What we want to know is, do you think this war is justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? Keith is in Nova Scotia. Thanks for calling from Nova Scotia today, Keith. You're on the air.
Oh, thanks for having me on. The justification of this war, that's, I think, is a good distraction from the Epstein file, so I'll just put that out there. I think it's going to be a tough situation. I agree with your earlier caller who mentioned the attacking from the air. That's not really a regime-changing action. I do believe I mentioned something about Trump saying they might put troops in. Did I hear that right?
That's what the caller said. I didn't say that. The caller said that.
The caller said that?
Yeah, the caller said that. Yeah.
Yeah. They must have heard it from somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, I think that may come down to that sort of action. Going.
All right. Well, they say it's going to last 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think of that timeline? 4 to 5 weeks. You think this is over in 4 to 5 weeks?
Well, I think that now that you've killed the supreme leader and his son has replaced him, I believe. His son has replaced him. That son is probably not a very happy camper. I think you're going to have a more pissed off leader now who's going to be seeking revenge, at least for his father being killed. So 4 or 5 weeks, I don't see that coming in 4 or 5 weeks. I think they've gotten themselves into a real mess there. This could be troops Afghanistan or Trump's Afghanistan. He's supposedly the president of peace, supposedly had knocked out and obliterated all their nuclear capacities. So I think it's a big mistake, honestly.
Big mistake. Okay. Thank you. Could be Trump's Afghanistan. Thank you, Keith in Nova Scotia. To Luke up next on Talkback. Luke. Hi, Luke.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine, Luke. Do you think this war is justified?
No, I don't think it's justified at all. Actually, I think Israel is to blame for everything that's going on over there.
Why is that?
I think, because every country over there sees what they're doing, right? They
sees what who's doing
back. Israel and the United States,
right?
As their bodyguard. Okay, and if people can't see the coordination between Israel and the United States and inflicting war on this entire region for the last 30, 40 years, wake up.
Okay.
Wake up.
You say Israel has been perpetrating war on this entire region. Most of the time, it's Israel who has been attacked, right?
Yeah.
Israel was attacked the day after the day after the state was created.
October 7th. Okay, 1,700 people. And
yes.
Oh, sorry, I think someone was clicking in. So we got 1,700 people that were killed at a raid.
All right. So you don't you don't think that it's justified. We can move on from that. You don't think it's a justified war. Do you think it's only Do you think it's only going to last 4 to 5 weeks?
I don't think 100,000 people killed in Gaza was a reasonable response to a terrorist attack in Israel. I don't. Okay,
yeah, fair enough.
Ongoing.
But we're talking about Iran now. We're talking about Iran now, which vowed to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. We're talking about Iran. I'm asking you about Iran, sir.
Well, I mean, Israel wants to wipe another country off the face of the earth. Can you blame them?
Can I blame Iran?
Yeah.
Can I blame Iran?
Yeah.
Well, Iran is a country that thinks nothing of murdering its own citizens, sir, in the streets when they protest for change and want a change in government. What kind of regime is that? That it sounds like you support. I can't even get basic answers from you.
Well,
like how long do you think it's going to last? Do you think it's going to be over in 4 to 5 weeks?
No.
No. All right. Thank you. It took a while to get there, but we got there. It's Talkback on News Radio.
something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And I would ask you, if you're on the line right now, just hang on the line, okay? Because we're going to have to wrap it up here shortly for hour number one, bring everyone up to date on all the developments today. There's a full hour of Talkback ahead. I really want to take everyone's call today. John, I think, is going to get the last word for this hour, though. John. Yeah. Hi, John.
But when do we need it for?
Hello, John.
Because it's with Cornelia to be their caught.
Hello, John. Yeah, okay. And don't do that. Like when you're on hold, don't go off and have conversations with other people. Brandon in Vulcan. Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on, boss?
Yeah, I'm very good, Brandon. Thank you. Do you think this war is justified?
Absolutely. I think, well, as long as the directive is, freeing, allowing women and children and whatever the minority might be, gays and all that stuff to flourish. I mean, from what I understand, this Iran, how many years ago, Rob, were they, they didn't have all those rules. They were able to wear what they wanted. They went to the beach. They had, from what I understand, it was a.
That's right. There was an Islamic revolution. It became a theocracy in 1979 after the revolution, 47 years ago.
I'm not educated enough to really speak intelligently about this, but I do think that that's a good reason to go in there and take out these sick bastards. It's animal cruelty makes me sick, let alone this kind of cruelty.
Okay.
Suppressing.
Now they're saying, just because, and I hate to rush you, but we're just super tight on time here. They're saying 4 to 5 weeks. All of this will be over in 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think? Does that sound realistic to you?
No, I don't think so. But I think it takes what it takes, and I think that
it takes what it takes.
I think it's going to be worth it in the end. Like, my goodness, that's what this is all about. Let's save these poor women and children, and what a sick society and a sick religion. And people should watch Zeitgeist.
Okay, well, all right. You don't have to slam an entire religion. We'll have to end our conversation there. Thank you. I was with you up until that last part. Full hour of Talkback is just ahead. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. We're talking again about the war in Iran. We have 2 questions for you. Do you think the war is justified? And how long do you think it's going to last? They're saying 4 to 5 weeks. Do you see it like weeks, months, years, decades? We've had wars that have lasted decades. What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Prime Minister Carney finally had a news conference. He's in Australia. And the news media that is with him, they had some questions about his statement that came shortly after the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, and the comments that he made while he was made in India that largely stuck to that script. And he backed this action against Iran. And that was sort of eyebrow raising for some people because there was very little equivocation about it. There was not much mention, for example, of the United Nations or multilateralism, the things you usually hear from liberal prime ministers. No mention of the fact that these attacks were launched without congressional authorization in Washington. Carney's remarks mostly stuck to the same sort of talking points that you hear from the Trump administration, that Iran oppresses its people. It has a terrible human rights record. It's a state sponsor of terror, arming proxies, threat to the region, threat to the world, can never have a nuclear weapon. And his statement actually said Canada supports the United States. And a lot of people were like, well, Canada supports the United States. What the heck does the prime minister mean by that? Doesn't he know what the United States is doing to us? How can he support this? And Israel, because public opinion is turned to a certain extent against Israel in this country. But we've heard that already today. But during his news conference, he was asked about this. He kind of coached his remarks, said he supported these actions with regret because it showed a failure of the international order, that Iran was a serial violator of international law. It's been that for decades. Multilateral organizations tried to punish Iran. It didn't work. And he said it's a government that oppresses women, murders its own citizens in the thousands. Even in the last few weeks, the prime minister said. He said, Canada's not part of this war, won't be part of this war. But he supports this action. Thinks it's justified. Do you think it's justified? And how long do you think it will last? 1-833-668-2577. Abraham in Kitchener today. Abraham.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi there. Very good.
Oh, definitely is not.
What's your opinion?
It's not justified, of course. It's against international law. And also, people keeping, some people, even some of your callers, even they have no idea. Not only Iran dictatorial government. There are many places people they got killed because protesting to demanding democratic system. So not only Iran, I'm not defending all the saying it, but this one is not justification. Maybe you heard about yesterday. I don't know if you heard the Omani foreign minister said it was the one was mediating between the United States and Iran. Said we were close to make the deal until the United States started to bombing. And also the important thing, the people they forgetting that everybody, here we are comfortable position talking about let them, they change. When they bombing from the sky, you can't differentiate someone on ground, someone, who is a bad person or a good person. Innocent people dying. So far, they say 1,000 people die because you bombing from the sky. The same thing they did in Iraq. Close million people they killed. The majority of them from the sky, bombing. In Afghanistan, the worst, even in rural area, hundreds of thousands of people they killed because of that, the air from the sky, bombing innocent people. And they couldn't win because of the heart of mind people because of that. So it's the same thing will happen in the United States. In terms of how long, of course, Donald Trump, he can change it tomorrow, anything, and they are not going to finish. If they want to finish, so many Americans will die. Every time one American die, of course, they don't give a damn. So many Iranians die, but if any American die, of course, they will change their mind. They will.
So this idea, Abraham, this idea that it's going to be over in 4 to 5 weeks, what do you think of that? Be over in 4 to 5 weeks.
I don't think so. It's realistic. No.
Not realistic.
Well,
no,
they will.
Not realistic. Okay.
I would say they will bomb, but so many innocent people will die. The people, even they protesting here, supporting Donald Trump, the diaspora Iranians, they will get angry because they have relatives there. They will die for that kind of the bombing from from the sky. I'm
not sure. I hear different stories about that. I mean, we spoke to someone I know, Goldie Ghammari, who's been very outspoken against this regime and says that the Iranian people that she knows, not just here in Canada, but back in Iran, totally support what the Trump administration is doing right now and feel that their country has been freed from tyranny. Thank you, though. Just like that, hour number 2 underway on Talkback. Have your say. Is this a justified war? And how long do you think it will last? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Is this war justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? Let's go to Tony in Kitchener. Hi, Tony.
You.
Are you with me, Tony?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Rob?
Yeah. Hi, Tony. Yeah. Good to hear
There
from
you
you.
are.
Do you
Sorry.
think this war is justified, Tony?
Whether or not it's justified, honestly, Rob, I think the best people to ask would be the people who live in those countries or came from those countries. They will tell you the conditions they were living under, and if they think what has happened is justified, then so be it. But me personally, I just think, Donald Trump is a man of making deals, saving face, and power. He just basically got rid of the dictators in Venezuela and Iran. Who's got the biggest oil supplies in the world? Those countries. If he controls that oil from those countries, I believe 70 or 80% of China's oil purchases in Russia come from those two countries. If he controls the oil, those guys are a lot more susceptible to be going to the negotiating table for trade and other things. So if he controls the oil, now, Donald Trump goes there saying he's going to liberate them, and he has, and he's freed them, and the nuclear weapons and all that stuff, and that's great that they're going over for that. But I think the underlying issue is it's all about control of oil.
All right.
You know what I mean?
How long do you think this will last? I just want to move along here. How long do you think it's going to last?
Honestly, I think it'll last until the U.S. has people in those two countries controlling or supposedly helping the transition, but they're going to want their payback, and it'll be oil. And if they control the oil, I don't know. That's just me. I think it's going to go on until they get people in those countries to control it.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that there are ulterior motives here. That's come up this week on Talkback. Some people think it's a distraction from the Epstein files. You think it's about control of global oil supplies?
Well, that's
and that
what
it has
I think.
nothing.
Oil makes the
Sure,
Rob, we all know oil
Yeah.
makes the world go round, right? I mean, everything
Sure.
is relying on oil, and if you control the taps, you have all the power.
All right, Tony. Thank you for your call in Kitchener today. Back to Calgary we go. Paz. Hi, Paz.
Hello. Hi, it's Ted.
Hi there. Taz,
Hi.
sorry.
Yes.
What's your opinion? Do you think it's justified?
Absolutely not. And it's based on lies. Anytime America and Israel say something, it's always lies. This is theft. First, they said it was regime change, and then they get rid of the leader, and then now it's about nuclear weapons. And personally, if Iran is not allowed to have nuclear weapons, Israel should not have it either. And then you have innocent lives being lost, and then you have a lot of people calling on your show who admit, there was someone before the news that said, I'm not educated enough on this, but I think the war is justified. Like, that is so ignorant. Like, you cannot make statements like that. And the media in this part of the world, yourself included, spins a certain narrative, and you never let opportunity go by to spin the Israeli narrative. So people on this part of the world only get one perspective because there's a lack of independent journalists.
I don't know how you can say that when you're on the air saying what you're saying, and I'm allowing you to say it.
Yeah, well, you do have a point, but you know that you always push the Israeli narrative. You know what I haven't heard from your show? I listen every day. And the other day, I think it was yesterday or on Monday, after when it was the bigger news on Monday, coming back from the weekend, somebody phoned in and they were explaining their perspective from Iran, and then you cut them off and you said you're very sympathetic to that. I didn't hear you mention not once about those innocent girls that were murdered in the school. Not once did I hear this news on this radio station, but it's almost so many days, but this news radio station keeps going back to October 7th. And they talk, like the West talks about human rights and girls and women's rights and everything. But we haven't heard anything about these innocent girls that were murdered by U.S. and Israel.
Well, a caller just brought that up, and we were just airing some of the White House.
We are the independent thinkers that are calling it up. Why is the news not reporting this? It's your job.
I'm not here to speak on behalf of the entire Canadian news media. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the entire Canadian news media, and some of the things I think are contrary to what is read in much of the Canadian news media.
But we haven't heard it from you. You've heard it from viewers, but not from you. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
All right. So you think it's not justified? How long do you think it's going to last?
Not. I don't know. But the longer it lasts, the more innocent people are getting killed. I honestly hope that American troops would wake up and be like, we're not doing this anymore. Like, America should mind its own business and leave the Middle East. America and Israel has been responsible for destabilizing the Middle East over all these years. And then they spin the narrative, which their population believes, because that's the only source that they get. And if you go in other parts of the world, like even on Facebook, we're censored from so many things. If you go in other parts of the world and you listen to the news, you'll see more perspectives. But this part of the world only shoves one narrative. You
think we're too
and it keeps
pro-Israel, too pro-Israel? You think the media is too pro-Israel in this country?
Of course, they control the media. Most of the media they control. They control the narrative.
Come on, get at it. Get out of here. Get out of here. They don't control the media. Get out of here. That's an old anti-Semitic trope, and you should be ashamed of yourself for expressing it on the Canadian airwaves. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
I know passions are running high, folks, but let's just focus in on these questions here, okay? Do you think this war is justified, and how long do you think it's going to last? Kevin is in Calgary. Kevin, thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Kevin. Yes, sir.
So I'll say the second question first is I think it's going to last a long time. Heard some reports saying that the regime is involved in every aspect of the country and making money on corrupt, taking money from every aspect. And if they go down, a lot of people are losing money, and every one of them is going to fight to the teeth to make sure they don't lose that opportunity of keeping corruptingly taking money from their own people. So I think it's going to be a tooth and nail fight for a long time, unless somebody turns on them and does cut a deal in the back rooms and gets around it that way. But I don't think the majority of the entrenched leadership there is going to give up that cash flow in a hurry.
All right. Is it justified? Is the war justified?
Well, I guess that's if you give them an inch, you give them a mile sort of thing. Like, nobody really stood up and said anything when he took in the leader of Venezuela. And in his mind, Trump's mind, he got away with it. And then, okay, well, let's take out this guy from whatever, El Nicho or whatever his name is, from Mexico. And again, the community at large said, okay, good job, Trump. You got rid of another bad guy. So I think in his mind, it's justified because he's getting away with it. The one lady said about power and oil, there was a discussion about oil and power. I think in Trump's mind, power is way more important than the oil. And the more times he can say, I solved this war, I solved that war, look how great I am, look what I'm doing, is more important to him.
But here he hasn't solved a war. He started a brand new one.
Right.
And dozens
After he
of countries
said, I'm not doing any foreign long-lasting wars ever again. So in that regard, no, I don't think it's justified. I don't think the American people think it's justified. I heard a report saying those 3 American jets got shot down. Fortunately and lovingly, the pilots all ejected and survived. But how many millions of dollars were those 3 jets worth that could have solved a lot of hunger in America?
Yeah, maybe tens of millions of dollars, I would suspect. Thank you. I'm going to take one more call here before we stop for the bottom hour newscast. Kareem in Calgary. Kareem.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like herding cats today, to be honest with you. But do you think this war is justified?
Not at all. Not at all. Just because what the ulterior motives are, we have what they really want and what they're saying they're doing it for, right? Is 100%.
What do you think they really want?
I think it's, as many of your viewers have said, it's about the control of the oil and keeping control of the oil in that area, right? To choke Russia or China or whatever, Why don't they do the same thing to North Korea, who is not so good to their people, or to China, who is not so good to their people either, or anywhere else in the world? Because I don't think they'll be able to stand a war with any of those countries too. You know,
all right, well, yeah, and those are those are nuclear armed countries as well. Maybe that has something to do with it. They say part of the motivation here is to make sure this country doesn't become nuclear armed. 4 to 5 weeks. They say it'll last 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think longer, as it's shown with Israel's hand in it. Israel likes to bomb innocent people. Just my take, you know, nothing anti-Semitic. But we can see already how innocent people are already losing their lives, not the regime people.
So you think it's going to last longer than 4 to 5 weeks? Okay, 1-833-668-2577. More of your calls after the news on Talkback.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, we're talking about the war. Is this war in Iran justified? And how long do you think it's going to last? That's what we're asking today. Now, in Washington today, there's going to be a vote. Typically, when a president starts a war, they can't do that without congressional authority. Trump got around this by declaring some kind of emergency. But you have people like Mike Johnson, who is one of Trump's top people on Capitol Hill. He's the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. And he was asked about this looming vote, might happen in about 90 minutes from now in the U.S. House of Representatives. And he outlined Trump's thinking on this mission, and he called it a simple matter.
It's about the building of ballistic missiles. That's what Iran was engaged in. And they were doing it at a speed and at a scale that was exceeding the ability of our regional allies to respond appropriately. This created an imminent and serious threat. It also gave them cover to continue with their nuclear ambitions. As you know, we tried very hard to negotiate with them about that nuclear enrichment of uranium. We tried to talk with them about their continuing to fund their proxies, all the terrorist organizations that have wreaked havoc and killed Americans and American citizens. And the buildup of their missiles was so important and so serious that the President of the United States, this president, thought that it was a great enough threat that we needed to act. We had a narrow and unique opportunity, a window of opportunity to act, and if that window had passed, it would have been much more difficult for us to achieve the mission. The mission is very simple. It's twofold. We take out their ability to launch ballistic missiles and to produce ballistic missiles, and we downgrade their Navy. That's it.
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. So you hear their imminent threat. There was an imminent threat, and that justifies this action in Iran. So the Democrats are going to try and bring this to a formal vote in the House for the use of military force, congressional authorization for the use of force in Iran. They don't think it's going to pass. They just want to get all the Republicans on the record on this use of military force in the Middle East. So Hakeem Jeffries is what's known as the House Minority Leader. That means, in this case, he's the leader of the Democrats in the House. And this is what he said.
Now, he's claiming that he's not going to put U.S. boots on the ground, but he's claimed a lot of things only to do the exact opposite. This is the same person who said he is coming back to the presidency to get America out of endless wars, and now he has just gotten us into a potential endless war in the Middle East, of all places, where we know, based on what happened in Afghanistan, based on what happened in Iraq, based on what happened in Libya, it's not going to end well for American interests.
So that goes to this timeline, 4 to 5 weeks. He doesn't think it's going to last 4 to 5 weeks. Forever war. It's going to be a forever war. What do you think? Is it justified? How long do you think it's going to last? Let's get back to our phone calls. Thank you for being patient. Karen in Halifax. Karen, thanks for calling.
Hi, I'm outside walking now, so the wind may take me away. If it's ruining our communication, let me know, because it is windy where I am. All right, I want to stick with your actual reasons for starting. One is, was it imminent? No, but it's inevitable. I think those two words should be exchanged for each other. It doesn't matter if it wasn't imminent tomorrow or Friday. It's inevitable what Iran would do in time if they could get, because they don't think like we do. The other thing is how long. I'm going to keep it really short because I believe that it had to be done because of its inevitability, that it would happen eventually, and then Iran would have no reason not to do whatever they want, because once they had or have nuclear, that would be it. They would have all the power in the world to do whatever they want, really, and certainly they'd get rid of Israel. How long?
Okay.
I think
How long? Yeah.
that it will be over way sooner than anyone thinks. And then it will be like a wildfire. Yes, it'll be put out. It'll take a while to put it out, a few weeks, and then there'll be little pop-ups here and there, which will be looked after. And that's really all I have to say. I am absolutely of the thinking that this had to happen, because I know, as just a Canadian great-grandmother living in Halifax, I'm more relaxed not knowing that I'm never going to wake up and find that Iran launched nuclear. And they would get to North America eventually. So that's it.
Thank you. You've made your position clear. Thank you. Karen in Halifax. Robert is in Calgary. Hi, Robert. You're next. Okay. All right. Let's try Joe then. If Robert's not there, let's try Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, Joe. Thank you. Do you think this war was justified?
Well, you know what? Here's my take on it. I don't actually care if it's justified or not. Let me quantify that. The Iranian people want it and have wanted it for a very long time. I'm 62 years old. I remember when those guys started taking over that country and everything just went to crap. They were bus bombing Israelis, car bombs, everything like that, all kinds of garbage. And you know what? It's about time this happened, I think. As to the length of it, I think that it's going to go for a very long time, off and on. And I also think that they're creating, unfortunately, a power vacuum. So that's the danger, because Iran, in no uncertain terms, has said they want every Jewish person on this planet eradicated. So what choice did the U.S. and the Israelis have, right?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your call. There are some lines available there. I think 4 or 5 lines, and we still have time to take lots of calls. 1-833-668-2577. Is it justified? How long do you think it'll last? Have your say. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
To John in Calgary, up next on this war. Hello, John. Hello, John. Yeah, hi, John. Good to hear from you. Do you think this war is justified?
I don't think the war is justified, no.
And why not, John?
I understand the rationale behind it, but the initial story sold to us was nuclear weapons. Now it's ballistic weapons. That's on the same wavelength as Hamas with rockets that didn't really do any damage. It was an always justified reason for the ongoing attacks there. I don't know. Pretty much that's the gist of it, is you'll find a million excuses to go to war, and it was largely the players that are doing it, and with mild support from their allies. That's why they've chose to do so.
All right. So you think they're kind of making it up? They're just finding excuses to do this? They were going to do it anyway?
Oh, definitely. There already was a pre-vetted plan of why they're going to go attack the country. It was just playing out the chess pieces to get to a point where they figure the pushback is reasonable enough that they can get away with it.
They say it's going to last 4 to 5 weeks. What do you think of that? Is that realistic to you?
4 to 5 weeks, that's kind of ideal, I guess. thinking in the logic of Trump's mind, it's going to want to happen before FIFA World Cup kicks on, because he doesn't want to be perceived by the world as a warmonger, especially with the peace award that they gave away to him, which was funny on its own. But no, I don't think this will end. There's going to be some pause. It's the same as there's pause in Lebanon. They're still getting bombed. There's pause in what's left of Palestine, and they're just going to continue that so they can't have a state formed there. There's too many excuses for being a war economy, and the States has way too many of them, and they don't have, I guess, enough push in their own country to control what stronger parties will tell them to do. But that's my 2 cents.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
And you've shared it, John. Thank you for your opinion. Michael, up next. Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hi. Yes. With regard to the war, I think that it is justified, and my reasoning is they're going to the hate and the ethnic differences, etc., as an excuse, but the underlying real reason is just commerce. So, I mean, they're trying to block the strait, and in almost any situation that I can think of, example-wise, where somebody's interfering with commerce, somebody steps in, to make it so that it can't be. In Canada, I remember CP Rail went on strike, and they pulled everybody out of the summer session, and 6 days later they were ordered back to work because it was costing millions and millions of dollars. So same thing here. They need the product, so they need that strait open, and they'll stop at nothing to keep commerce moving through there. I don't think it's a personal issue. I think it just comes down to commerce, and that's it. And how long I think the war is going to last is pretty much whatever it takes, but I'm guessing it's going to be more like Afghanistan. It'll be 20, 25 years. That's my thoughts on it anyway.
Oh, gosh. All right. Thank you. Michael, time for one more? Yes. I believe we're going to Guelph. Dawn is in Guelph today. Hello, Dawn.
Yeah, hi, Rob.
Yeah. Hi, Dawn. Is it justified?
Well, they were at the table, and it could have been rectified before this. But of course, crazy president jumped the gun. I think it's like the last caller. I think it's going to be another Afghanistan because they didn't know what they were getting into. Now, I'm involved with campus radio all over the country, and I hear a lot of pods from the U.S. about oil. Venezuela, for instance, the oil that cannot be refined in Venezuela, the closest refineries around the Gulf Coast of the U.S. That's the same place where Alberta dirty oil goes to get refined. So the issue here is that the U.S. has been.
I don't know why would you call it dirty oil? Why would you call it dirty oil?
Well,
why would you call it dirty oil?
Because it's heavy crude oil.
Well, it's heavy. Yeah, it's heavy oil. I don't know what you know.
It's called dirty oil. It's always been called that.
Well, I don't call it dirty oil. Maybe people in Eastern Canada like to call it dirty oil. I don't think in Alberta they're calling it dirty oil.
Well, of course not. But the whole issue, again, with the U.S. and
see, I would
Israel
say, like, the oil of Tehran is a lot dirtier than the oil of Alberta, given what it's been funding in Iran. That would be my opinion, sir. We're out of time.
Sure.
Got to run. Thank you. Bye-bye. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And the calls keep coming as we keep asking, is this war justified and how long do you think it's going to last? Schminder, Calgary.
Hi, thanks for taking my call there. Hello?
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Do you think it's justified?
Yeah, I think the war is justified, and it's the Iranian regime, while they might not like Israel, definitely don't have a hate for Jews, but, they're causing regional instability, and, now this will bring more peace in the region, therefore more stable crude prices. That's really what will happen over the long term. And I think it'll last 4 to 5 weeks because Iran's going to run out of missiles. That's the truth. It might, the regime will run out of their main tool of war. Right.
All right. You think that the destruction of the military machine of Iran will be such that it just won't be able to fight after 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, I think we'll see that after Iran starts deploying the Fatah 2 missiles, right? We'll start seeing that is the end, right?
That will be the end. All right.
We have about 500 Fatah 2 missiles, right? But we'll see how they perform. That'll be also I'm very curious to see how those Fatah 2 missiles perform. They've only had one strike with them, and it was successful. Right.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the various armaments of all of these countries, but it's a very optimistic timeline. I think. I mean, there are people who are worried that this isn't the next Iraq. This is the next Afghanistan. This isn't a 4 or 5 week thing. This is a 10 or 20 year thing. But you don't believe that.
The Afghanis were tribal people, right? This is a lot different. This is Iran. These people are Persian. The Persian Empire has been around for a long time. The Persian civilization has been around for a long time, right? And we see that even the people themselves don't want it. Whereas if you look at Afghanistan, they're very much tribal. A bunch of different tribes, and they function that way. That's why they can't be ruled either by somebody else.
Yeah, but could it not devolve into like sectarian violence? Various groups jockeying in a power vacuum.
Unless the Persians are just not that kind of people. They're not. They're moderate. They're intrinsically moderate, right? Like their culture is very moderate. They're very moderate people, right? They're just different from that whole region, right? They're being unfortunately ruled by a Islamic rule. But just a quick note on that guy that says Alberta's dirty oil. Alberta oil makes asphalt and diesel, which is much different than anything else. That dirtiness makes the world turn. And Alberta oil also creates a strong middle class and a strong economy. And we use ethical labor, unlike other countries. So our oil, I would argue, is the cleanest oil in the world.
Yeah. I would say you're using the ethical oil argument, which is not new to me, but I don't think he's too familiar with it. Thank you for your call, though. I appreciate your call. This will be the last call. I believe we're going to Kitchener. Gary is in Kitchener. Gary?
Hello. Yeah, okay.
Yes, Gary.
Hello. Yeah. First
is
of
it
all,
justified?
It was probably justified when they first dropped the bombs, and the bombs landed on schools and hospitals, killing the people, which that's definitely not justified. Now, they kept hitting them, and then the Iranians wanted to sit down and talk again, and of course, Trump all the way, when he said, this might persuade them to talk. Now they want to talk there the other day, and he said, no, it's too late. So they kept dropping bombs. Now, the problem is Trump and his buddies manufacture the missiles, the jets. The more war, the more rich they get. And the problem is, how long is it going to last? It's going to last as long as they want it to. Israel and Trump, if they want it over tomorrow, they could have it over tomorrow. But the longer it is, the more money they've got in the bank.
All right. Okay. You think there's monetary motivations, commercial motivations. Wide range of opinions today, and certainly no consensus. Brand new topic tomorrow, more of your calls. And until then, always the latest breaking news. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.